Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Let me know if you guys can hear me. I was having trouble getting some of this stuff set up, so um, it doesn't tell me that I'm live, but let me know if you guys can hear me at all. All right, so we're good to go. All right, cool. Yeah, so just looking here at the at the price here. I mean, we started moving up recently, so I thought, okay, well let's pop on another video because if you see Bitcoin really start to rally here, if it does make a run at say 11.5 or 11.6, then we may start to see the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio start to bleed again. And this is why this was the reason why I wanted to go live, was because I wanted to relay that, well, if this starts pumping, which I mean it could be at 11.4 in 5 minutes potentially, then I have a feeling that Ethereum is not gonna keep up with it. So we're gonna keep an eye on it, and I just wanted to to jump on a live show, and just answer any questions you guys have, because there were a lot of questions yesterday. I was not able to get to all of them. So if you do have questions, let me know, and I'll try to answer those. And we're gonna see what Bitcoin does. We're gonna see if we can break out here, and move on up the ladder, or if we get rejected. I mean, I think I saw the price go up to 11.45, 11,450 for a second, and then come back down. So we'll see if we can keep that rally alive. We've spoken, right, about how these two coins like to dance with each other. Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're kind of like dancing partners. And yesterday, Ethereum had a good day, right? And if you look at Ethereum's day yesterday, well, I guess I'd have to go to a shorter time frame. If we were to look at a shorter time frame yesterday, so looking at the 30th, you can see that Ethereum had this move here and it came back down, and then today it started moving up again, and then it started to retrace a little bit once Bitcoin started to go up. And I think this is because money was really starting to flow, right, flow out of Ethereum. The Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, it looks pretty good right now. I mean, 0.0302, still well within our, what I would say is our new accumulation region. But really, I think right now, most eyes are probably diverting away from Ethereum yet again, and looking at Bitcoin. And now it's going to be time again to say, all right, Bitcoin, let's figure out what you're doing. And on the chance that Bitcoin is, this is more like a fake out, it goes to 11.4 and then it just comes right back down. And then we go back to 11.2, 11.1, or 11,000, 10.9, or 10.8. And then we just continue there. Then this ratio, right, Ethereum, Bitcoin, it might go down in the short term, but it'll probably continue on its general uptrend here if this breakout actually, in fact, does not occur. If you do see it occur, if we start moving up here in the next few hours or so, then again, as I said, the world will turn to Bitcoin, at least the crypto world will turn to Bitcoin to see what it's doing. And then I think for other coins, it'll kind of just be taking a back seat until Bitcoin, starts to really slow down a little bit, because it was really popping a minute ago up to 11.450 in a few minutes. And to give you guys, if you wanted to see where the regression lines are, I mean, here they are for Bitcoin. Obviously, it's not completely updated because the BLX only shows the closing price, and the closing price was 11,124. So I mean, you can see that we have rallied a little bit here, already at 11.3. But if you zoom in, right, if you zoom in on the regression line, we're still well within our accumulation region if you treat this as our accumulation region, and in fact we're halfway between our fair value, which is currently at around 88.50, and the upper range here is like around 13,000. So this is essentially the range of the regression line, and as we've shown before, if we plot on here the 200 week, let me plot on the this is the daily. So if we plot on the 200 week moving average, you can see again it's converging to kind of the bottom of the regression line, which is what it did, right? I mean, we saw this happen before. I mean, in the last cycle. If you look at the last cycle, you can see that we held the 200 week as support, and it happened here, a third time, and then a long time for the fourth time. So 4 key times where the 200 week, so it's the 200 week, was held as support during the last cycle, and then you see that the regression line went above the 200 week, so they crossed right here. And funny enough, if you look to see where they cross, actually, I actually had just thought about this. If you look to see where they cross, and we go on and plot the 20 week, so it crosses right here. So it crossed in January of 2016, the regression line and the 200 week moving average. And then it was right after that Bitcoin held the 20 week as support. Now clearly I don't know if that would happen again, but you can see that we're getting closer. I mean, it's not going to take too much longer. If you extend this, just roughly the way it's going up, and then extend the other one, the 200 week, up, then we may see them cross, in a couple months or so. And maybe if we were to repeat the last cycle, we would drop down to the 20 week moving average wherever that ends up being. At the present time, it's 8,600, but notice it's going up quickly. A week ago it was 8,200. Now about a week ago it was 8,200. Now it's 8,600 almost. We're gonna start excluding some of these bars down here and including the ones up here. So the 20 week moving average is going to start rapidly going up as well. So by October, if the price of Bitcoin continues marching on up, systematically in a sense, to 14K if we're lucky, and then if it drops back down to the 20 week could be at 10 or 11,000 by the time that happens. So you just have to recognize that the 20 week moving average is going to start really increasing soon. We saw that it was going to decrease. We talked about the decreasing 20 week moving average. I think I'm buffering now. Can you guys hear me? Let me know if I'm still here. I'm not sure if I left the video or not. For a second there, it looked like I was no longer live. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm still live. So yeah, I mean, we've been speculating, right, for months now about this bubble, right? About a potential bubble forming in the summer. This summer, we had a video a few weeks ago calling the preamble to the bull market. We had, Ethereum video, the accumulation of a lifetime, a Bitcoin video called, a reaccumulation range, not a distribution range, where everyone was saying this was a distribution region. I've gotten a lot of comments recently saying, well, you basically are just taking credit, right, for Bitcoin going up, whereas you always, people would always say, right, I always give that that disclaimer that it could drop. And I mean, this is obviously a disclaimer, but if you've watched the channel, we've been bullish, right, since Bitcoin broke the 20-week moving average, and we've been bullish since it stayed between $8,600 and $10,000 for 2 months. We made several videos discussing it. several videos showing that this is a good thing for Bitcoin. And the reason, right, is if you just take a measured move and see how long we were in that accumulation region, it was 84 days. And if you go back and look at the last cycle, right, we saw similar things play out. We saw these similar long accumulation phases. This one was 196 days. This one was approximately 140 days. These are good things. The bull market has to get started at some point, right? I mean, I think there's a good chance that, at least I think over here we were in the disbelief stage of, say, a typical market cycle. I'm starting to think, though, that we're probably going to start moving past the disbelief stage soon, and I think more and more people are going to start jumping on board with the idea that maybe, just maybe, this is it. Like, this is it. Like, this is the start. This might be, when you look back in 3 years or so, if you zoom out a few years and say, if this is our fair value in a few years, this, right, I mean, this could just be the start of a longer market cycle in which we come up here and peak in, say, 2023, and then we come back down. But of course, right now, it's hard to say that. No one really knows if this is the case or not. What are the things that has to happen? I mean, first of all, Bitcoin has to be above the 20-week. We have that. We can check that off the list, okay? The second thing, we need a golden cross. We already had that. I mean, that happened quite a while ago, where the 50-day crossed the 200-day. We still need Bitcoin to hold the 20-week as support. This has not happened yet. And you can even look back at the last cycle and see, it was the 20-week held as support that encouraged the bull market to keep going. Every buyback, so if people were taking profits, if profits were being taken here and here and here, we always found support again at the 20-week moving average every single time. Until eventually, we just went into we got to our prior all-time high at around 1100, and from here we really did just go parabolic. And then, once we broke the 20-week moving average and held it as resistance, then the party was over. It was as simple as that. I mean, it's again not as complicated as you would have it be, but it was just say, the 20-week moving average was broken, and now we're heading back down. So now we're essentially just looking at it and saying, okay, well, is this the preamble? We said it a few weeks ago, right? There's a video on it, the preamble to the bull market. And I'm hoping that it is. I mean, I think there's a good chance that it is. But at the same time, you always have to be ready for a drop, especially to the 20-week. And if we drop to the 20-week, it's still bullish, in my opinion, if we can hold it. So right now it's at 86. Next week it might be at 9K. The week after it might be at 9,200. So remember, it's all about perspective. Even in the bull markets, we have 30 to 40% retracements. But Bitcoin right now is looking pretty strong. It is looking fairly strong. It's at 11,361 now, and I'm hoping that we can see a breakout. One of the things I would like to see, personally speaking, right? I would like to see something like this. Let me draw out what I would like to see happen. And this is not what will happen. I can assure you it won't happen, because exactly what I draw will not happen. But I would like to see something like this, where we come up and then break into a smaller term speculative bubble, maybe as we push on throughout the end of 2020. And then I would like, from here, I would actually like to see us come back down into the regression line, which might be at around $12,000 at the time. Maybe the fair value will be around 12K, which will be higher than it is now. This is what I would like to see in the short term, and then continue on our path. I mean, this is what I want to see, and then so this takes us out to, say, the end of 2021, where we get to maybe a sustainable 20K, right? Which is if we just extend that out, as we've done with, say, the prior cycle, you can see just extending it out, getting into the regression line, extending this out into the new regression line, and then maybe holding it as resistance, right? For a while, and then ultimately, breaking through in 2022, and then really building up to 30K, 40K, and on up. And then at some point, right, as we go into, say, 2023, maybe really having that final spike, over 100K or so. And then ultimately, retracing back down, and then continuing on our journey. This is what I would like to see. Will it happen? It's anyone's guess. I have been hopeful that we would see a speculative bubble this summer, somewhat similar to the last one. And I would personally want to see this one go higher. The reason why is because if you look at our fair value in 2019 when we went to 14K was only around 5K, or 4,500 to 5K, so it really wasn't that high. Now our fair value is twice that. So I would like to see Bitcoin continue to push the envelope here. I want to see it, show us, give us a taste of what it's going to be later on, and show us a shorter term bubble, and get people talking about it, and then people are going to start to FOMO in, and then it's going to be, just kidding, it's not a 4-year cycle. Yet again, let me remind you, and back to the regression band we go, and then continue on up our journey. This is what I would like to see. Whether it happens, that's anyone's guess. All right, what kind of questions do you guys have? Yeah, so if the economy crashes, right? We've talked about this a lot. If the economy crashes, then this would probably negatively affect Bitcoin. As I said in the last video, Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation, not a recession. If a recession hits, I would expect Bitcoin, at least in the short term, to take a drop, but it probably could recover fairly quickly. You saw it already, right? The price of Bitcoin this year has already been as low as 3,800 and as high as where we currently are, basically 11,450 or so. So the value has changed so much. So even on the chance, right? Even if the economy, if there is a big recession, Bitcoin tends to be, it tends to react a little bit more, quicker, right? It tends to overcorrect quicker and then rebound, right? You can see that here. Even this correction here down to 3,100 wasn't that long lived. It only took, about half a year, a little over half a year, for Bitcoin to go from 3,100 to 14K. So even if you do see a drop, you must always be ready for it, right? We don't seek out the 200-week moving average, but you must always be ready for it to happen. So currently, the 200-week moving average is at 6,300. So this is always a possibility. If that happens, I still would say we're on course. I would like to see, if that does happen, then it just means we're kicking the can down the road, and we're going to have to slowly build our way back up. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a long haul, and if something like that were to happen, which I'm not going to say that I don't lean in that direction at the current time. But if something were like that to happen, if it came down to the 200-week moving average by the end of the year, it could still recover and be right back to where it, right back to the upper part of the regression line in 2021. These crashes have a way of really flushing people out of the market. But this crash here seems like a pretty good crash to have in terms of looking at, say, like a final capitulation for the bull market to get in full gear. This one was a lot scarier, in my opinion, than this one. This one was, I think a lot of people were, it was split like 50-50. I know there was some people that thought it was gonna start going back up here. A lot of people were saying, it's about to crash. Seeing this crash wasn't necessarily that, it wasn't necessarily that scary, just because, we were still fairly far away from the 200-week moving average. And you can see that at the time, to get to the 200-week, it required a 50% drop. And in the past cycle, we held the 200-week as support, and our final move to it, right, from the top right there down to it, was around 50%. So it didn't seem like it was as scary. The last drop in March did seem a bit scarier, right? And the reason is because, well, we had already been at the 200-week moving average, a couple times, and people were starting to think, okay, we're above the 20-week here. Maybe we're going to continue on and start our bull market. We came to the top of the regression line, our accumulation region, and then we just dropped like a rock. We dropped like a rock down to the 200-week moving average on the weekly, and down to the 300-week moving average on the wicks. So this was, I think this was scarier, right? I mean, this is when a lot of you probably did sell some of your positions. But remember, if you see this in the future, if you get an opportunity to see something like that happen, where Bitcoin comes back down to this level, you've seen just how quickly it can how quickly it can reverse right back up to where it came from. So I would say, not that it's financial advice, but I would say treat these as opportunities rather than Bitcoin is dead narrative. So Bitcoin, it's still pushing the rally up. We're at 1136. We're gonna still be in the regression line, right? As long as we're below 13K, we're still in our accumulation region, right? Like our fair value currently at like 8,800, and then you can see over here on the right at these 2 points here, it's the low value is 6K. So the lower bound region, and the upper bound is 13K, with around 9K being 8,800 being the fair value. So, and if you're curious about what that means, it's just a logarithmic regression fit to non-bubble data, what I deemed non-bubble data. And for there's a lot of people waiting for 3,500. Remember, or say like to see like 3K or 4K. I mean, we just were there, right? This was, there was a number of people in the Telegram chat, the public Telegram chat, that were calling for 3.5 and or 4K, 5K. I'm just like, well, where were you in March? I mean, this just happened a few months ago. At some point, there's a good chance we're just gonna move on, right? We're gonna move on from that time. And I really do think there's a good chance that we look back on this time and say, yeah, this was the final capitulation we needed, and that led into the bull market. Someone said, would a second wave of the pandemic basically make the markets crash? I mean, I don't know what world you're living on, but I mean, the cases have already gone parabolic. I mean, we're already in a second wave, right? I mean, it's just, this is how the market's reacting now. I don't know how it would react necessarily down the road, but we're in it right now. Aid says they were afraid to buy back then. It's easy to talk in hindsight. This is not hindsight, my friend. We made videos at the time saying that this is this is the time of your life to accumulate Bitcoin at the 200-week moving average, right? And especially at the 300-week. I even made a video before, like back in 2019, saying that the worst I could see it going was to the 300-week moving average. You can find it. It's like a video in, I think, November or December of 2019. Even when we were at the 200-week moving average, we said these are the accumulation regions. This is not just easily talking back in hindsight. This is you just going back in on my videos and looking at the videos at the time and saying, we're at the bottom of the regression line, guys. This is the time to accumulate. Of course, it's easy for you to pop on now and say, oh, you're talking in hindsight, but this was not the case. What other questions do we have? It actually looks like Ethereum is doing okay right now, and I think it's mainly just because Bitcoin has not really broken out as much as it led us to believe it might might do an hour ago when it was at 11.4. If that 11.4 move had continued, I do think that Ethereum would have continued to bleed. But if this ends up being kind of like a fake out, and we don't continue to go up in the short term, like if Bitcoin just kind of stays at 11.2, 11.3, I would actually say this would be really good for Ethereum. So for those people who holding Ethereum, Bitcoin remaining this bullish, like being at the upper band of where the local top is, if it can even just stay in this region and not even, like if it doesn't continue on its journey here, then Ethereum is likely to continue just pushing on up. So this is I think this would be really good for Ethereum if Bitcoin does not continue this rally in the short term. Now, if it does, then right, as I said earlier, then I think Ethereum would start to bleed against Bitcoin. Yeah, so Spock Talk is basically saying some things that are completely not based in science, and he's saying that yeah, this is not okay for the channel. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove your comments and hide you from the channel, because I can assure you that no one is interested in that. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on from the conspiracy theory stuff. We don't have room for this on the channel. We just talk about the data. If you want to talk about science and stuff, that's fine. If you just want to talk about conspiracy theories, take it somewhere else. This is not the point of the channel. Yeah, you guys can't see his chat because I removed it. Don't worry about it. Believe me, I deal with constant like spam like that, and the sooner you realize it's just not worth your time, the better off you'll be. Just don't even give it the time of day anymore. Just move on, right? Let's just move on from that. We have bigger things to talk about than what some random person is wanting to whatever conspiracy theory they want to push. Yeah, let's so with Bitcoin here, I mean, it's still looking okay. I still think that there's a chance that it does take a rally here. I mean, if you remember back to yesterday, Ethereum kind of had an early morning push. Well, I guess my time had a morning push, and then it kind of settled down a little, and then later it really started to move. Maybe Bitcoin will kind of follow in Ethereum's footsteps. It has the initial push up, takes a few steps back, right? 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then it makes yet another move. But at the present time, Ethereum is looking good. I mean, Ethereum is really looking good right now. It's currently at 346, and Bitcoin is at 11,368. I think many of you are okay with me talking about both, because many of you hold both of these coins. And this is something we definitely want to watch, because as these numbers change, as Bitcoin stays at this level, if you see it stay here, I would definitely expect Ethereum Bitcoin to continue on its journey, and continue this long-term shift, right, in the market, this momentum shift, right, that happened in September of 2019, and then in January of 2020. For those who like to talk about double bottoms, which I don't really talk about, but for those who do, right, you can basically see it. I mean, roughly speaking. So now we're basically starting back up on our journey. Harry says, would you argue that ADA is both a short-term and long-term position? Yeah, I mean, with ADA, as I said to you guys, I stopped buying it at 10 cents. Even when it was 2 cents and 3 cents and 5 cents and 7 cents and 9 cents. I said all along, right, that was the accumulation range for ADA. And that once we get above 10 cents, people are going to then ask me, oh, should I buy ADA now? Well, the answer, right, is no, you should have bought it when it was less than 10 cents, which is where I made probably 10 videos saying that this is the time to buy ADA. And then once we get above 10 cents, then, I shift my gears from like aggressively accumulating it to starting to thinking about selling it. So I actually did sell like a 1/15 of my position of ADA a few weeks ago, as I even think I said on the channel. So I mean, ADA, right? As if you look at the chart, it's really hard to say what it's going to do in the short term. I mean, you have Shelly that launched, and as I said before on the channel, there's always, when you have these things that people have been waiting for a long time, you might have this build up, right, to a big event like Shelly, and then once the event comes, then there's a sell off, the sell the news type thing. And then ADA did really see a little bit of a sell-off, but I mean it's still holding fairly okay right now at 1,224 sats. Where this would continue to bleed though is if Bitcoin starts to make a big move here, ADA Bitcoin is certainly going to start bleeding. So this is just a potential scenario. I mean, you can kind of see the trend here. I mean, if I just roughly draw these, let me draw these lines really quick, so you can kind of see it. It first started there. We came down, back up, down to the accumulation region, right? So down here, and then we moved, sideways at the bottom. From here, we moved up to, the next, up to this region, and then now we've kind of, after coming up here, we started to retrace a little bit, right? I mean, back down to this level. Now the question, right, that a lot of people would ask is, well, I mean, are we gonna come back up here, or are we gonna come back down here? I think it really depends on what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin starts to make its own move and starts to go to like 12K, 13K, 14K really quickly, then ADA Bitcoin would more likely come back down to this level. If Bitcoin can just chill out at 11K for a few weeks, then there's a good chance that ADA Bitcoin would come back up to this level, and then you get the this bullish indicator that is everyone wants to see, right? The very bullish, right? I mean, this is all right. I'm having too much fun. Let's switch back over back to Bitcoin. Still at 11.35, so nothing, business as usual, more or less. The regression band for Ethereum is starting to be broken, as you can see. We're near the top of it. Let me know what questions you guys have. Yeah, I mean, as far as ADA, I would personally wait for a retracement. But that's also coming from a position of already holding a lot of ADA, right? I mean, if you don't hold any ADA, then you have to determine whether if it's worth the risk for you to get in at this point when it's already up 600% in 4 months. This is a huge risk. It could work out, it could not. Over the long term, I would lean towards it likely working out, not financial advice. I would lean towards it working out. In the short term, it's a coin flip whether it would work out or not. I certainly would expect ADA to continue climbing over the next several years, but in the meantime, it could easily drop back down to 10 cents or something. I mean, it's not that far-fetched for it to do something like that, especially if Bitcoin were to drop back down to, say, 9 or 10K, then almost assuredly ADA would drop back down to 10 cents or so. What other questions do we have? someone said, why did you fit the regression band for Bitcoin and not Ethereum? I never refit the regression band. This has always been the same regression band that I've been showing. I mean, I have not changed it since I originally published it back in 2019. It has not been changed. Yeah, I mean, someone asked, what's the probability of a steeper rise? Of course, there's always a chance for a steeper rise. If, I do tout lengthening cycle theory, and then there's people that talk about the Fourier cycle theory. I mean, there's always a chance, right? I mean, I don't think it's a very likely chance. But if you pull up, say, the regression lines, like you might ask me, like, okay, well, Ben, where would you be completely out of Bitcoin? Well, these regression lines are obviously monotonically increasing, but if we were to go there soon, then I would be getting out of Bitcoin, in that region. I mean, this currently is between 45,000 and 67,000. I would prefer us to get into the sell regression line further down the road, because I mean, further down the road it will be a lot higher, as you can, basically as it's fit right now, you can see it's at the top. The sell regression line basically comes through the top of each bubble. So if it were to happen in the short term, I would definitely be getting out of the market, because I would not expect that to be sustainable at all. And if it happens over here, then I would be getting out of the market, but it would be at 100K, over 100K, rather than say at like 50K. Yeah, someone says, is it possible to use your regression band in TradingView? I am gonna put it in trading, or I am gonna make it available. I keep just like not doing it, because like the main reason is because like if I start making all these TradingView indicators like either available to the public, that's one thing that's simple, because I can just hide the source code. But if I start making like some indicators that are only for people on the premium list, then it's just a lot of administrative work, and I'm already swamped with administrative work regarding people on the premium list, so I'm just kind of really hesitant to do that right now. I will add it at some point. I know I've been saying that. I will add it, I promise. You cannot access it yet, though. You guys will be among the first to know once I've made it public. It's just a matter of coming up here to publish and publishing it. But in order to do that, I actually need to kind of get a lot of the administrative stuff set up. So I'm probably gonna have to, I don't know, find someone to help me with that or something. But like for right now, I'm still just trying to figure out how to manage all that. All right, what other questions? By the way, I will go ahead and use this opportunity to remind you guys, I do have a public Telegram channel. We actually just got to 4,800 people. So if you want to join that channel, I'm going to put it in the comments. You can check out the Telegram channel, and you can ask all these questions there when I'm not doing a live stream too. So you can ask me, you can ask a lot of other people. So do check that out. In addition to that channel, I have a Into the Crypto Cosm Telegram channel, which you can join if you have a lot of altcoins that I don't talk about that you want to talk about. So this gives you the opportunity to basically, shoot the breeze with other people about these altcoins that I'm just not going to take the time to discuss, because I just really don't think they're worth the time and attention. I think they're mostly just a distraction, and at the end of the day, a lot of people are going to lose money on them. When you start getting into some of these just really random coins popping up daily, a lot of people are probably going to lose a lot of money. So keep that in mind. And then I'll go ahead and use this opportunity just to say, remember, I do have the premium list into thecryptoverse.com. You get access to a Telegram alerts channel, which tells you exactly what I'm doing. So if you're curious how Ben is handling what's currently going on with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, and ADA, and other coins as well, then you can check out the premium list. I'll put it in the comments as well. So check that out. In addition to the Telegram alerts, you also get access to the weekly reports. So you'll get access to like 17 weekly reports that you've already missed. You'll get access to like 13 premium videos or 14 premium videos. And then also access to a risk dashboard, so a Google Sheets risk dashboard, where you can follow along with the risk level. So do check it out. You can also, if you prefer, you can also get a discount by paying in cryptocurrency for 6 or 12 months. Actually, I thought it was a 10% discount for 12 months, but I think it's actually a 15% discount if you sign up for 12 months. And note, I should remind you that the prices are going to be going up in a few weeks, probably in August. Sometime in August, the prices will go up. But if you're already on it, you're going to be grandfathered in at the current price. This is just economics, just need to increase the price so that it becomes easier to manage the influx of new subscriptions. So if you do want to get access to the premium list at the current price, then go ahead and sign up before I increase the current prices, and you will be grandfathered in. Let me know what other questions you have. Bitcoin is still right in this region 11.3. If it continues to hold this, then I'm going to be definitely watching Ethereum closer. And Link, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of you guys follow Link as well. So Link is doing basically what it's always done, right? I mean, it pumps against Bitcoin and then it retraces. This is basically just business as usual for Link. I mean, we've been drawing these lines for I don't know how long, but with Link, there's always something to be said about how this general uptrend, right, that it has been in against Bitcoin for such a long period of time. And there's always going to be articles out there written. There's always going to be FUD. There's always going to be that kind of stuff. I just stick with the data, to be completely honest. I really don't care about that stuff. I just stick with the data. I say this is a trend I want to be a part of. Therefore, I become a part of that trend. So it's as simple as that. What other questions do we have? Someone said, okay, if USD continues to go down in value, this reminds me, I actually did have a recent request on this recently to talk about like the index there on the power of the US dollar. So I probably will do that. I did a video a few days ago where I plotted Bitcoin, or I plotted Ethereum, but instead of plotting it in terms of USD, I plotted in terms of the euro. And actually, this got a lot more positive feedback than I originally thought it would. Basically because, I know that approximately 35% of you are Americans based on the YouTube statistics that it gives me. But I do also know that a lot of you do live in Europe or other continents, and therefore are constantly having to think in terms of a lot of different currencies. Maybe you're first converting your euros to USD, and then you're converting USD to Bitcoin. So you're already used to thinking of Bitcoin in terms of USD, but that's not the point. The point, right, is are coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum going up because they're really gaining value, or is it because USD is losing value? And one way you can do this is you dive into Forex and you can plot it in other currencies. You can look at the power of the US dollar, and so on and so forth. So we will be kind of expanding some into Forex so that you guys can get a better understanding of like where exactly the valuation increase is coming from. Like, is it coming from Bitcoin's inherent value going up, or is it just coming from the US dollar value is just going down? for some reason there's a lot of trolls in the comments. Feel free to make the trolling comments because it takes one click to hide you from the channel forever. So go ahead and do it. Also, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up if you guys like it. Share it if you want. I'm probably not going to stay on too much longer, but I just wanted to give an update on on what Bitcoin's doing here. Bitcoin, gold. Actually, I have plotted Bitcoin against gold before. So if you go to my channel and look at if you look for gold and Bitcoin, you'll see that I have plotted the price of Bitcoin against gold before. Quantitatively, they're different, obviously, than plotting it against USD, but qualitatively, it's basically the same thing, because when you have something like Bitcoin going up like 5 million% or something, it doesn't really matter if you're plotting it against gold or if you're plotting it against fiat. It's basically a rounding error compared to what Bitcoin did over the macro scale, of course. Someone said, please talk about XRP. I've spoken about it many times before. I actually have a video on it a couple weeks ago if you want to go check it out. I mean, I use the regression lines. I use the logarithmic regression bands just because, I think that they provide a good way to identify entries and exits from the market. It just as easily could have been that it did. And I get requests to make these regression lines for other coins. Some coins, it's just not a good model for them. For Bitcoin, I feel like it is a good model, and this is why I use it, and it just requires you refitting the regression line every market cycle. So, whenever the next market cycle is, I'll just refit it at that time to help project the following cycle. So this is the only caveat. I fit it basically to, up to the end of, say, like the bear market, or what I thought was a decent point. So, the end of 2018, early 2019, and then I just let it ride for the duration of the cycle. I'm not really sure what you mean by, could you tell us where we are on class 0 to 10 of your model? I don't know what that means. Yeah, as far as XRP, I've given my thoughts before many times. There's a time to potentially buy XRP, and there's a time to not. And 99.9% of the time, the answer is no, in my opinion. There may be a few times where the answer is yes, but it's not a coin that I would ever hold for more than a few weeks, right? This is not something you want to hold typically when Bitcoin is below its prior all-time high. It's just not. Now, if you hold it and it does well, then congratulations to you. This is just my opinion. Someone said, in what video did you look at Bitcoin Euro? Sorry, I misspoke. It wasn't Bitcoin Euro. It was Ethereum Euro. So if you look back about maybe 5 or 10 videos, you'll see it says like an introduction to Forex. I thought that if I'm going to do an introduction to Forex, I should do it within the lens of crypto to retain people's interest somewhat, because I know that most people here do that. And the whole thing, I see people saying, I already got 35% profits from XRP. Congratulations. ADA has gone up 600% since March. Link has gone up several 100% since March. Ethereum has gone up, several 100%, or a couple 100% since March. You can take your 35% and be happy with it, but there's an opportunity cost, right, of holding XRP. Yeah, 35% is great, but why is that something to brag about if there were many other coins that were performing so much better in the top 10? Let me know what other questions you guys have. I think that I'm not sure if Bitcoin's going to be making a significant move from here. I mean, it did go up a couple $100, but it might just sit tight at 11.3 for a while. Someone said, how do you plan to cash out? I just do it dynamically based on the risk metric. And again, you can find that on my website, intothecryptoverse.com. I just do it based on the risk metric. Someone said, do you think $1 million Bitcoin is possible in 20 years? Maybe. I don't think it would happen sooner than 20 years. If I had to guess, I would say maybe like 2045, based on the current annualized volatility of Bitcoin would be kind of the earliest I could see it. Maybe 2040 to 2045, somewhere in that time frame. But it's really hard to predict out 20 years. I think a lot of you guys, I see a lot of people talking about like Link in terms of USD and a lot of altcoins in terms of their USD value. I actually do think there's a huge benefit to thinking about it in terms of, say, it's Bitcoin value, or it's Ethereum value, it's Ether value. Thinking about it in terms of USD is okay, but it's also, I think there's other ways. I mean, you can see that. I mean, I'm not even showing the Link USD chart, right? I just have the Link Bitcoin chart up. Because it's all about, the idea is if you can just hold Bitcoin and do better than holding 20 altcoins, then why hold 20 altcoins? Well, the reason is if you can find coins that are like this that are gaining value on Bitcoin, then this is a good reason, historically speaking, right, to continue holding that coin, as long as this trend holds. Obviously, at some point, the trend might not hold anymore, but until that time comes, I'm going to continue on DCAing Link. I mean, I'm not buying it at these levels. But, if it were to drop back down against Bitcoin, maybe I would. Best few alts to hold now against Bitcoin. I mean, it's hard to say in the short term, right? But Link tends to move against Bitcoin, so it reduces your volatility and improves those risk-adjusted returns. So yeah, I mean, Ethereum is certainly on a pretty big kick here. So we are coming out of our regression line. You can see the price poking above it now, like it did last time. Last time though, in February, it did it for a brief period of time at around 285, and then just crashed all the way back down before coming back up into it. Also, please give the video a like, guys. Please like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get future video updates, and turn on your notifications so that you'll see the videos when I post them. I hate saying it, but unfortunately, it is true that when those notifications are hit, it does improve the chance that you guys see the videos. There's a Telegram channel if you guys want to join it. Yeah, of course, taxes are a factor against trading. We talked about this yesterday. Short-term capital gains is a big deal depending on where you live and also your income tax or your tax bracket. Faves Online says, do you sell your position on the top of the regression line and get back in at the bottom? You have to remember, right, that eventually I would expect this bubble to form, right? I mean, if you always sold here at the top of the regression line and then bought back in at the bottom, I mean, it would have meant you sold at 1286 in February of 2017 and bought back in at $5,000 in 2020. This would not make sense. I do not always sell at the top and buy back at the bottom. I sell according to the risk level, and I do it dynamically, so I just sell a small portion on the way up. This is the idea. Someone said, can you do a video about precious metals? I have a whole precious metals playlist, so go check it out on my channel. We've done several videos on precious metals. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of questions about logarithmic regression bands on TradingView. You guys can fit it too. I mean, just fit the data, right? Just go into whatever program you feel comfortable with and fit the data to a logarithmic regression equation, and then just plot it. It doesn't. It's really, I have mine that I fit to non-bubble data, but again, it's not like it's that complicated. It's just a regression. It's just a regression line. So. I would say just experiment with it yourself. Like, I'll put it on TradingView eventually, but you can always fit your own too. What other questions do we have? I mean, I don't know what the price prediction with where Bitcoin would be by the end of 2020. If I had to guess, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, it'll probably be between, I'd have to put a range, right? I mean, I don't know where where it would be exactly, say, like on that day. If I had to guess, I might say somewhere between like $8,000 and maybe $14,000. So maybe between 8 to 14K, I somewhere in that range. Do you hold any other alts that you haven't made a video on yet? Yes, I do hold other coins. The main reason I don't talk about a lot of other coins though is, if you talk about too many coins, and I feel like it's hard for an audience to like. I guess my point is I'd like to just keep the narrative alive. I talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, and ADA, and it's easy to trade between those because they tend to, they kind of pick up each other's slack in a sense. They tend to move against each other a lot of times. The problem with talking about too many coins is it kind of like then it kind of fragments like the general train of thought, and then another thing too, right, is if we're being completely honest with one another, I want to be honest with you guys. If I talk about 30 different coins, which I could, if I were to talk about 30 different coins, then in 2 or 3 years, of course, there's a good chance that at least 1 or 2 of those coins would perform astronomically, and there's a good chance that half of those coins would lose value. Well, I mean, then it could give me the opportunity to brag, right, about, oh, I talked about this coin, therefore it makes me really good at picking coins. Like, I don't want to give that impression. I picked the 4 that I like talking about the most because these are the 4 I really see a lot of potential in. That doesn't mean there's not other coins. It just means that if I talk about too many coins, then how do I develop any kind of, I'm trying to think about how to word it, how do I develop any type of confidence in my picks? Like, if I pick 20 different coins and 5 of them do well, congratulations, who cares, right? I mean, anyone could have done that. You could have had a monkey pick, 5 random coins or, 20 random coins on CoinMarketCap, and there's a good chance 1 or 2 of them will do well. I stick to the 4 coins primarily because I want to stay focused on those coins so that people have a continuation of content. So there's not like a gap where I'm talking about 30 different things. The other reason is because if I talk about coins that have a very low market cap, like $1 million, $5 million, or $10 million market cap, I don't want to come off as someone who is like pumping that coin up, which would then obviously dump the following day or something. So I also don't want to go down this road either. So it's mainly about just sticking to, to the goals of the channel, which are to help people identify, coins that could have a really bright future, and to narrow it down to those coins, and then for us to follow those coins for the duration of the cycle, right? Like if I talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, and ADA, Bella, right? I just call it Bella for short. And then all of a sudden one day I stop talking about Link, or I stop talking about Ethereum, or I stop talking about ADA, it's going to become quite obvious, right? I mean, people are going to be like, well, what happened, right? I mean, so it's a way somewhat to, to keep me honest, and to, just to stay the path. And I was honest with you guys. I mean, I bought ADA up to 10 cents. When it was below 10 cents, I told you this. I bought it up to 10 cents. I'm no longer buying ADA. This was common knowledge. If it drops back down, or if it alternatively, if it doesn't drop back down, but it stays at 14 cents or 13 cents for many months, then the risk level on ADA would start to drop as well. And then it could present another buy-in opportunity to say, okay, we've stabilized, the risk has slowly dropped back down, therefore it presents another opportunity. But right now, I've told you guys what I've done so that I'm not trying to like mislead you or anything. This is just what I've done. Like I sold 1/15 of my ADA position already. I sold 1/5 of my Link position already. And if the opportunity presents itself to rebuy back in, then I will. And if the opportunity presents itself to continue to sell at higher risk levels, then I will. This is how I operate. There's no secrets about my general mentality on the markets. I'm not an all-in or all-out person. It's not buy everything today, sell everything tomorrow. It's you slowly move into a coin, and I slowly move out of it. And over that time, I hope to see a really good return on my investment. It's nothing more, nothing less. It's nothing more altruistic than I'm making it seem. I really don't care if you guys, at the end of the day, I want to make money, right? It doesn't bother me if some of the coins eventually are not used by the entire world. I just want to use it as a vehicle to grow my wealth. And again, I'm just being honest with you. Someone said, but you also talked about XRP. Yes, I've talked about XRP. In the last video, I spoke about, XRP is one of those ones that I don't hold right now. I don't hold it. It's just because I think that there's key times to potentially get in and key times not to. And it just now is not one of those times. I mean, maybe I'm wrong and XRP will go up 2x tomorrow, and I'll tip my hat again to anyone who had the foresight to realize that return. But again, it's just it's not my focus right now, and I'll let you know if it changes. Yeah, so in terms of privacy coins, there's obviously privacy coins like Monero, and there's a lot of privacy coins. I could see reasons why, trying to word it carefully. I could see reasons why you would have maybe like a portion of your portfolio in privacy coins. And in fact, if you calculate your risk, if you maximize your Sharpe ratio and include Monero in that calculation, it actually does say that, approximately 15-17% Monero maximizes your risk-adjusted returns with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Whereas with Litecoin, it doesn't. And this is one of those common misconceptions that everyone, Litecoin has been going up. It's great. It's trending up. I'm happy for you guys holding Litecoin. But Ethereum's also been going up a lot too. And if I have it in Litecoin, then I don't have it in Ethereum. And frankly speaking, I think Ethereum has a lot more promise than Litecoin. I think the potential ROI on Ethereum is a lot higher than Litecoin. So it's not that I don't think Litecoin won't go up. It's just that I think that the opportunity cost to have it in Litecoin over the long term is too high for my taste. Okay, this is my point. It's not against Litecoin. The price of Litecoin will likely go up with Bitcoin. It's just that for now, I don't think there's a reason for me to hold it. But for those of you holding it and watching the value go up, I'm happy for you. Yeah, I agree. XRP can pop off overnight, and before you know it, it can be up 10x. This is a definite possibility. Looking back though, the last time it happened was at the end of the Bitcoin bull run, and the time before that was when Bitcoin got to its previous all-time high. Bitcoin starting the bull run above the 20-week, XRP did not shoot up. It shot up a little bit. It maybe went up like, 40, 50%. I don't know. I haven't looked back at it in the last couple of days to remember, but it was Bitcoin getting to the previous all-time high that was the catalyst. So it's just like a calculated risk, right? I mean, it's nothing more than a calculated risk to say I'm not going to hold XRP right now because I think that there's a good chance that the ratio is going to bleed against Bitcoin over the next 6 to 12 months. I don't care what it does tomorrow. I don't care what it does 5 days from now. If in 6 to 12 months, Bitcoin, or let's say in 16 months, Bitcoin is at a sustainable 20K, or it's approaching 20K and I want to front run it, then I say, you know what? This was the time to buy XRP last market cycle. Maybe I start to move in now, and then I hold it, and then if it starts to pump, then I look to sell it back to Bitcoin. This is what I would use XRP for. I would not use it to hold it for say 4 years, because if you pull up the chart, you know what? Let's just go ahead and pull up the chart. If we pull up the XRP Bitcoin chart, I guess I'll pull it up on Binance. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, right? I mean, yes, there's moves up sometimes, but generally the ratio against Bitcoin has been going down. At some point, there's a good chance that it'll spike, at some point. I just don't think that tomorrow is that day. If I thought that tomorrow was that day, then I would own XRP. I just don't think tomorrow is that day. Once I think that tomorrow is that day, then I'll buy XRP. Okay? This is my argument. If it turns out I'm wrong, then it just means I missed the boat on XRP, and I take 5 seconds, I get over it, and I move on. It's just a calculated risk. Yeah, Tyler, you make a good point, and I have thought about this. People have been requesting it recently. Have you considered making a private group where you host scheduled live streams like this? Yeah, so if you're on the premium list, sometime over the next few weeks or next few months, be on the lookout, because I will probably start doing live streams just for people on the premium list, so that I can more easily relay exactly what I'm doing in the market and see your guys' thoughts. And also not have to deal with the trolls that like to live in the YouTube chat. What other questions do we have? Remember to check out the Telegram channel. I'm almost. We're going to be at 5,000 members soon, so we'll be getting a new admin at that time. I actually already have the admin picked out. Someone asks, have your charts and risk metrics you provide to your premium subscribers worked to call the rallies and retracements? So basically, I use them to identify when to dynamically DCA in. So it helps you to identify when you should be, when I at least am putting more money into the market, when the risk is dropping into the 0.1 to 0.2 risk band like it did in March. I do think this was useful because I was even in, the private Telegram group and telling people like, hey, like the risk is at 0.12. It's hardly ever at this region. So I think it has been helpful. But at the same time, I don't think that you should ask me, right? I mean, like, what am I going to say? I'm going to say, oh, no, it doesn't. Ask other people. Like, go to the public Telegram channel and ask them. Or ask other people. Like, don't ask me. I can't tell you if I mean I provide the value that I see fit, and it's up to you to follow what I'm doing or to use it to accomplish your own plans. For instance, the other day in the alerts channel, I posted a swing trade, and it was a swing trade from Link at 805, sold Link at 805 to Ethereum at 235. Ethereum went from 235 to 320. I sold Ethereum at a 0.0305 to Bitcoin. Then I bought my Ethereum back at 0.0292. So these were some swing trades that ultimately went from Link. It went from Link to Ethereum, then Ethereum to Bitcoin, then a Bitcoin back to Ethereum. Now, a lot of people don't want to do this, right? Because it does, you have to worry about the capital gains on it, and I understand that. But there's some people that like the idea of doing these swing trades. So occasionally I'll post some of these swing trades in there. And then the idea, right, would ultimately to come full circle and to hopefully, maybe pick up some Link again if the risk on that drops back down. That was an example recently of, and everything's documented in the alerts channel. You can see, what I've said in the past, what I haven't. So I'll let you look at that. Linux Kid says, "What's your estimate on the next cycle high for Bitcoin and Ethereum?" I would think that Bitcoin will likely peak somewhere between 100,000 to 140,000. This is what I would think. Obviously, it could go up to 80,000. It could go up to high as 180,000. But I would probably be out of the market somewhere between 100 to 140. And if it continues to go up, then I'll wish you guys a good mission. And if you look at the chart, right? I mean, if you just look at a Bitcoin chart and you look back on it, when the price was at 3,100, how mad at yourself are you going to be if you sold it at say 16K as opposed to 20K. I mean, you just don't know where the top is going to be, and you just have to accept that and move on with life. With Ethereum, so Bitcoin, I could see being 100 to 140. Ethereum, I would probably assume somewhere between 5 to 10K, if I had to guess. But I reserve the right to be wrong. Around someone said, but if Bitcoin reaches the target of 100K in 2025, the next target would be 1 million. No, actually, I don't think so. What I think that Bitcoin in this market cycle, I think it'll reach around 100K, 100 to 150K. The next market cycle, I think it'll be between 300 to 500K. And this peak for 300 to 500K will probably not occur until the 2030s, if I had to guess. So the next one I would see would be 300 to 500K. And then after that, maybe a decade after that, getting to 1 million. So I think there's a step in between. I think the first one is getting to 100K. The next one would be a multiple of that, like 300 to 400 to 500K. And then from there to 1 million. And this would take place over the next 2 decades, probably. Have you looked at liquidity pools like Uniswap to auto balance risk and also earn fees? Yeah, I have used Uniswap before. I have used the liquidity pools before. If someone values their wealth in Bitcoin, should they never sell? I don't think so, because if you recognize that you're in a speculative bubble, if you recognize it, and you recognize that selling could help you buy back in a lot more Bitcoin at like a 50% discount in a few months, then that allows you to accumulate more wealth in Bitcoin. So even in terms of valuing it in Bitcoin, I think it's useful to try to take profits when it's in a speculative bubble. Also, when I say things like 500K in 10 years, it would probably be a fleeting moment. Like it might go to 100K in a few years and then trace back down to 40K, then go to 300K in say 12 or 13 years, and then retrace back down to like 150 or 200K. I mean, it's a moving target, right? I mean, Bitcoin is not going to be stable for a long time. Yeah, same question again. Bitcoin and Ethereum against USD. If Ethereum has a better ROI, why not hold more Ethereum? It's just about managing your risk and calculating out your risk-adjusted returns. The Ethereum has a higher potential ROI, but it also has a higher risk level associated with it. Do you believe that one day we'll pay our groceries with crypto? There's a good chance, but it'll probably be a stable coin, not another coin. And that stable coin may or may not exist yet. Someone says, when will this cycle peak? If I had to guess, I would say 2023. I could see it happening as early as 2020, late 2022, like fourth quarter 2022, or maybe even as late as like halfway through 2024. I mean, yeah, I think politics could influence crypto. I do think that politics could influence crypto. I mean, any time there's changes in policy, it can affect things. It's too early right now for me to gander how that might be. The new monthly the new pricing for the premium list, I haven't exactly figured it out yet, but it will go up like a significant amount, I would say, like enough that it's gonna hurt if you're not in before that time, is my opinion. So yeah. I mean, remember what you could do, right? If you're not sure about the premium list, you could always sign up for 1 month and then be grandfathered in at that rate. And then if you just figure out, yeah, this isn't for you, then you just cancel. I mean, but if it turns out it is for you, then it would save you a lot of money in the long run by getting in before the prices go up. This is the general idea. I don't share the percentages of my portfolio. Not with not with the general public YouTube. Will Ethereum flip Bitcoin this cycle? Um, it might, but if it did, it would probably not be sustainable. Is my guess. Obviously, it would depend on exactly when things pump. Like if Bitcoin goes to 140K and Ethereum goes to 10K or something, that's one thing. But if Bitcoin goes to 140 and then retraces back down to 70, and then Ethereum makes a move itself, then maybe it does flip it. I don't think that it will sustainably flip it though. I tend to think that there's probably a higher likelihood that it doesn't flip it than it does. But if it does, it probably won't be sustainable. And probably at that time, like you might be wanting. I would definitely be looking to sell my Ethereum in a situation like that, if I'm just being completely honest. We do talk about some altcoins on the premium stuff. I mean, I just posted some stuff on ADA, Link, XRP, Litecoin. We'll probably start talking some more about things like XTZ. I think Tezos is probably the one I'll put a risk metric on next. So just to let you guys know. Maybe Monero too. Do you think that Bitcoin will break its correlation to the S&P this rally? I mean, if you go back and look, there's actually I put out a video in 2019 where I looked at the correlation between Bitcoin and the S&P, and there's a lot of times it's completely uncorrelated. So yeah, I get it that there are some correlation. It does seem like it, there's a correlation there right now, because if the S&P is having a really bad day, then Bitcoin tended to have a bad day too. But over the long term, I think it will tend to do something. It's kind of like when Bitcoin was in a speculative bubble and it retraced 80%. It's happened 3 times, right? 3 major times. One of those times the S&P was going up. One of those times the S&P was going down. One of those times the S&P was going sideways during those bubbles bursting and subsequent bear markets. So people see what they want to see. It's easy to ignore the macro view in lieu of a few weeks or a few months time frame. But over the macro scale, like if Bitcoin is up 10x, it doesn't matter how good the S&P is doing. Like it's probably going to retrace at some point. And again, we have multiple Telegram groups. I'll remind you that there's the main Telegram group for talk on large caps, like large caps, probably within like the top 20, top 25 or so. But if you want to talk about other coins that I'm not really talking about that much, we do have another group into the Cryptocosm, so do check that out. Price projection for Litecoin. I mean, I doubt it would. I could see it getting to $1,000, maybe a little bit higher, but I don't think it's going to go to like $5,000 or $10,000 or anything like that. I do not think we're reaching $100,000 next year, no. And again, it's not just measured from top to top, like the general narrative of Fourier cycle theorists would have you believe, right? Let's remove a lot of this noise here. I have all these random drawings on my chart. So, I mean, if you measure, it depends right on how you measure it. I mean, if you say measure it from, let's say you first measure this one from, say, this bottom here, which was really a candle wick. I mean, you could measure, let's measure it from the candle or the wick. I mean, whatever you guys want to do. It's not going to make a huge difference, just a couple months or so. If you measure it from the candle to the candle, this was, 476 days. If you measure the next one, it's 1,148 days. So this is bottom to bottom. If you measure the next one, it was 1,442 days, so bottom to bottom. Alternatively, if you measure it from top to top, you can see it started at 910 days. So from top to top. The next one was 491 days. So bottom to bottom is it looks like it's lengthening. Top to top, it looks like it's lengthening. What if we go bottom to top? So let's go bottom to top. Let's look at all the different, all these different ways we could measure it. So let's go from, let's say this is the bottom, that's what we have. So bottom to top, 315 days. Bottom to top. The next one is 749 days. Bottom to top again. 1,071 days. This is what I see. Now, I know that some of you guys would like to show it like this. I'm not even looking at the chat right now because I frankly don't want to see it. If you were to measure it from, say, this point here to this bottom, right, it's 1600 days. And if you measure it from this bottom to this, or sorry, to this bottom, it's 1400 days. So if you measure it like this, then this cycle would have been longer than this one. But for me, you know, I can't personally, and some of you can, I can't personally ignore, you know, like an 80 or a 95% drop, a 90% drop, and say that it was part of the same cycle. This is not something, you know, I can really do. This other drop here, right? This was like a 50% drop. It was not like an 80 to 90% drop, which was where all the long-term bear markets were. And if you plot on, say, the 20-week moving average, you know, you can see that, you know, it was held as support for the last cycle every single time. This time it broke the 20-week and stayed, you know, it stayed all the way down, and then it started holding the 20-week again as support after the capitulation. This up here, I mean, it flirted with the 20-week, but you didn't see it dropping down, you know, 80% below where the 20-week was. I mean, maybe it went down like 5 or 10% or so, but this was a huge difference, in my opinion. Now, I get the conditions of the time and the hack on the exchange, but in my opinion, right, is my opinion that this is the first cycle, this is the second, this is the third, and that we are experiencing lengthening cycles. It doesn't mean that I can't understand the argument for a 4-year cycle. It doesn't mean that I can't say I understand why some people believe that it's a 4-year cycle, especially considering there's, like, you know, the halvings are approximately every 4 years. I just choose to believe that what the data says, like, if I didn't know anything about, like, what happened, if I just looked at the data, I would say, all right, cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3, cycle 4, and it's going to take longer and longer, and, you know, basically, like, exponentially more volume to continue moving the price up the curve, you know, and so the cycles are going to likely increase with that set. If it were obvious, right, if lengthening cycles were obvious and you know, there was no arguments for another thing, then it wouldn't really be that interesting, right? It would just be like, well, yeah, if it's obvious, who really cares? There's no novelty in that. The point is, right, I'm trying to say, okay, well, I'm taking the data that I have now, and to me, it seems like they are lengthening cycles. If it turns out not to be, then that'll be the case. The only 4-year cycle that I can personally see is the last one. And I just think it happened to be a happy coincidence, in a sense, that that happened to be 4 years. But this next one will probably be at least 5 years, and probably longer, in my opinion. They say, do I use the risk metric for alt to Bitcoin or USD? So on the Google Sheets risk dashboard, we have the risk levels for alt USD, alt Bitcoin, and alt Ether. And the nice thing too, right, is at the end of the day, you know, it's either going to be a lengthening cycle or it's not. And if it's not, then I'm still going to be selling, right? I mean, if we come up into our regression band in 2021 and the price is, you know, 80 to 90K, I'm still going to be selling, right? I'm not going to just say, oh, it doesn't matter that we're at the regression band. I think that we're going to peak in a year. I would likely just sell at that point and call it a day. You know, I mean, this is the truth. Like, this is lengthening cycle theory is what I think is going to happen. But again, I mean, you know, wrong predictions are made more often than accurate predictions, especially in crypto. So if it turns out I'm wrong, then it turns out I'm wrong, and I'll just continue on with the new data that I have. Someone said, when will the premium list price change? I don't have an exact date yet, probably in August, but I don't have an exact date. I'm hoping that the crypto markets kind of cool down a little bit so that I can kind of like gather myself a little. Looks like Bitcoin is back at 11.2 or so. And again, I'll just put in the premium list for those who want to join. And remember, you can pay with crypto. If you pay for 12 months, you can actually get a 15% discount, which is pretty good if you think you're gonna keep the subscription for a year. I mean, 15%. Someone asked, how do you trade in and out of the market using risk metric for Bitcoin or USD? It depends, right? I mean, if it depends on how the risk levels are. If they're all high, then it's to USD. If one is really high and one is not, then it might be a swing to the other coin. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. It's time for me to eat something. I haven't eaten anything today. Someone says, will you analyze other markets through the premium list once crypto is back in a bear market? Yeah, I mean, of course, we'll be looking at that stuff soon. I'm actually going to be putting the risk levels for the precious metals on there, hopefully within the next 1 to 2 weeks. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna expand the channel. It's not just going to be all about crypto. I'm starting the channel on crypto because I feel like that's where a lot of money can be made at the present time. But there's going to be a time where we're going to want to get out of crypto and kind of sit on the sidelines for a bit and then grow the wealth somewhere else. All right, I'll just do one final reminder. We do have the public Telegram channel. Please check it out. Over 4,800 people. We're going to be at 5,000 people soon. We'll be announcing the new administrator of the channel, so check that out. If you're looking for more of a discussion on like altcoins or random small market cap coins, we also do have the other Telegram channel into the cryptocosm. And then finally, we do have the premium list that you can check out if you want access to the exclusive content, which is the premium alerts channel, the weekly videos, the weekly premium video, the weekly newsletter, and then the Google Sheets risk dashboard. And you can pay with crypto if you want a discount. And feel free to ask people on the Telegram channel what their opinion of it is. All right, guys. That'll wrap it up for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.